right, you guys are tuned into the Chappy Bengals Podcast. We are doing a divisional review today. It is Monday, January 20th. My co-host here, Chappy. I don't know about you, Chappy, but I'm feeling fucking amazing. And I think you know why.
Yeah, why?
I think you know why, and I'm sure the viewers out there know why as well. But I don't even need to say anything about it. But you know what? I'm just happy for some select folk out there. Mr. Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, taking home a victory.
I think everyone's happy that Josh Allen
we're all happy to see it.
Took a victory.
Absolutely.
If anyone's success that I want to see in this league is what is he called? The golden retriever of the league, the NFL right now.
Of the league.
Right? Everyone loves a good golden retriever. Fucking Josh Allen, man. What a guy. I want to see this guy get one. Like, there's everything about it. Like, there are some good characters in the NFL. There's some pieces of shit, too. We can call out by name, I'm sure. But the one really
Patrick
good...
Mahomes.
I love how you say that one.
I don't even need to cough when I say that now. It's just like blatantly obvious.
Yeah. The best part about this is like just Josh Allen, man. Josh Allen is just a good guy. He just seems like a good guy. He just seems like a prototypical great person. Like if you want to go out and be a good friend to somebody, I bet Josh Allen's that guy. Like
it's just hard to cheer against him. I would agree with you. Unless you're like your team is tied up in what it is, depending on who you are. Like a couple years back, man, we had that whole narrative between where Buffalo came to Cincinnati and we had that big game and the DeMar Hamlin thing and these guys just fucking up and took off and we didn't play a game, and then like that was huge for seeding for us, and then that's where we rolled into Buffalo in that playoff game, and these guys were trying to say like neutral site playoff games and all this nonsense being manufactured because these guys didn't play that game. Yeah. That's when I was like, all right, Buffalo, it's fucking on. And we rolled into Buffalo, took their heads off, and the rest is history. But right now, you know, that beef that's behind, right now it's somebody go fucking slay this godforsaken Chiefs team and get them out of the playoffs, because nobody in their right mind wants to watch this team, especially after what we just saw on the weekend, which I can't wait to talk about. Yep. But initially, let's kind of look at the playoff brackets of what we started with here and where we're at. I think it's safe to say nobody here took the Commanders to make it to the NFC Championship game. No. So that's quite the surprise. Refreshing surprise, man.
What an awesome rise of a player and just a team in general. And honestly, like, we look at the Lions and what the Lions were at one point, and the Commanders have never been that bad as to what the Lions were. And I think that's the heartbreak out of Detroit City, is just this. It was heartbreaking, but I feel like it coincides so perfectly with all the other shit that the other franchises that have gone through, like the Bills have been there, and then divisional exits over the last few years, and it's like, oh, this is a great team, this is the team to go and do it, and then it just falls apart in that divisional game. And like this was just so one for one with that whole thing, and the Commanders played such a fucking good game. The Lions were hurt. The Lions had guys come back, start playing, again, and you could tell that it just wasn't the same team, right? Like they were still putting up points, but they've had trouble about this, stopping and preventing just offenses in the last like 3 to 4 weeks. And here it was. Like, Commanders are just that dynamic. They're putting up 40 points too in the early going of the season. Yeah. I'm not shocked by this at all. I think that was my take prior, was like, hey, if any team that can really match up well against this Detroit that's laboring right now, it's this fucking Commanders team. Yeah. Did I want it to happen? No, I was with Detroit the whole time. But like this is one of those games that's just like, hey, fucking snuck up on you. There you go. Rest is history.
Yeah. Pretty remarkable. And I told you this was kind of like very reminiscent of the Bengals and their kind of like shot run to the Super Bowl there a couple years back, where it wasn't like they had the most standout season, but you could tell, like, very talented team, this and that, but they just got hot at the end here, and they beat some teams they weren't supposed to, and they got into the Super Bowl. And, I mean, Commanders have a shot to do that here, and they're going to be playing a team they're familiar with. So it'd be interesting to talk about that game going in. But looking at the bracket here on the NFC side of things, I don't think you got anybody left on that NFC side there, Jeff.
Absolutely done.
I'm still alive on that NFC side with the Eagles there in that take.
Yeah, what a world, eh? Like, at the end of the day, what was it, 0-3 for all the teams in the NFC North, most winningest division in the NFL history, and can't any of them get out of the fucking first rounds. Wild.
Well, we were just talking about it. As good as they looked, we were also debating, the fraud that could be some of the quarterbacks on those teams. Like, we talked NFC great teams, so a little bit more suspect in the quarterback realm, and then you look at it and it's like the reason the Eagles are where they are is it's not because of Jalen Hurts, guys. It's because of that man, Saquon Barkley, and what that team is capable of doing as a whole, right? Like, nobody's sitting here saying it's Jalen, but that's more we can discuss based on when we get into the game. But the Eagles look good. Like, they're going to be a tough out, man, especially if you get weather conditions like that again. Commanders going in. Commanders can do their thing in Ford Field because it's a dome, right? It allows you to be that explosive and stuff, but it's going to be a different game, man. Commanders, I don't think they have the strength of running the ball as much. They're going to have to keep using this dynamic, offense the way they have been, and it's going to be an interesting play, man. I'm excited to see that one.
But I feel like all the stuff that's coming with Jalen right now, like this guy, I like, if we're going quarterback to quarterback, position to position right now, I'm putting more money on fucking Jalen than I'm putting on fucking or Jayden rather than Jalen. Fuck names, man. Like, I was like, what the hell, Jayden. But
from
literally,
quarterback perspective, absolutely.
Like
team play.
Team play, we'll see, right? Like, this team was putting up a lot of points in the regular season. Like, I don't know if the Eagles. This is going to be a great matchup. We'll get into it, but love to see it.
Yeah, so we'll kind of finish up some of the bracket talk here. So I got Eagles. I took the Eagles and Detroit. Detroit, unfortunately, me and you both had Detroit in the conference finals. Yeah. Jeff, you had the Lions taking the
I had the
Super
whole
Bowl here.
I'm fucked.
Lions are out. And Eagles, Commanders in the finals. Nobody had the Commanders, so I'm still alive there. Now we go over to the AFC side. I think we both had Kansas City being there.
Chiefs, yeah.
But one of us did take the Baltimore Ravens.
I did take the Baltimore Ravens, yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I got Buffalo, Kansas City in the final. Bracket looked like absolute dog shit out of the gate. But look at me now, guys. I'm standing here. I'm alive. I still got 3 teams in play. And based off what I saw in that Kansas City game, they're probably going to the Super Bowl because some official's going to fix the game for them, and we're going to talk about that. We might as well make that our first fucking game. Starting the weekend off hot, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. I think I can look you straight in the face and be like, are we not sick of seeing this shit now? Like, it was all fun and games before the narratives and everything, but if you did not watch that game on the weekend and you did not see what had happened, it is blatantly obvious what is going on here, and I don't think you can disguise it anymore.
So let's get into it. So what was your takeaway?
No. I want to hear your takeaway first, and then I'll dive into it because you already know where I'm going with this. And let's get your thoughts here, Chappy, first on what transpired in Arrowhead here.
Yeah, so a couple things. Obviously, you have some miraculous calls, some no calls too, but just some questionable plays.
Yeah, we'll talk about the football aspect of it after the fact.
Yeah, it's so hard to just not also see what this team is. Like, I don't think that Houston was ever going to win this game.
No,
but I found wild, and honestly, this is just a separate take altogether, and I was blown away by this. And this is more not anything to do with the game, but the score overall. So you and I had both talked about Kansas City against the spread. as this was developing in the last little bit of the fucking game. Now, -8.5. I knew buddies that had taken that. They had gotten in at -8.5. I didn't bet it because I wasn't sure. I just didn't really get a feel for this game. Wasn't sure what Houston was going to be. They shocked obviously last week. Didn't know if that was still in the books. But then -9.5 is where the closing line was on this spread.
Yeah.
And then what happened in the last fucking play of the game here, not even the last play, but the last play for Kansas City, is a punt, or a would-be punt. Anybody, in their right mind is thinking, okay, I got a punt. Now you're going to go down, and even if you return that, you get 6. And now you're going to score 2 and get 8, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck was the point of then running and getting a safety in that scenario? And we can talk about the football scenario of this. Like, I'm running through that as I'm watching that. I'm going, what would be your purpose to do that? If not to obviously, like, we know our onside kick percentages. We know all of these plays as they come out. They're very, very rare to actually succeed now that you have to declare. So all of this scenario here would be then you have to recover an onside kick and kick a field goal within the amount of time that was left on the clock. I have no clue, if not for what we were just saying about the fucking fixing that's going on in the NFL, that why the hell would you run out and get a safety in that situation? So I'm going to pose that question to you. What would be the purpose of that? Why would you do that?
So statistically speaking, that was actually the correct thing to do from a coaching perspective. And I had this conversation. I was trying to explain this to Val yesterday because we're all looking at it and we all saw, what had happened and what had transpired, yada, yada, yada. And obviously we're like, wow, okay. Like, yeah, that's pretty suspicious when you look at that. But I'm pulling up the game here just to kind of see. So the score ended up finishing 23-14.
Yeah.
And then so that eventually led it to be what? 9-point game.
9
so
point.
The spread was then covered by Houston. But when you're in that situation and you look at what had happened there, it was, an 11-point game at the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What happens is if you have a blocked punt in that situation, right?
Yep.
They put 6 points on the board. They can then do an onside kick and attempt, regardless of time on the clock.
Yep.
We know there's that. But
that's
if you run out of bounds and you put 2 on the board and then you have to punt it back to them, even if they get a touchdown, they're still out of reach of that game.
Exactly.
So it was actually the right thing to do because if the punt had been blocked, yada, 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 they would have had a chance to potentially win that game. But
so
you
9.5 plus bettors, you're fucked.
Yeah. Like just
regardless.
Awful circumstances.
Yeah.
But this is me we're talking about. You think I would side with the Chiefs? I'm Mr. Conspiracy Theory himself on the fucking Chiefs over here. But when you look at it from a coach's perspective, that's the right call to make. Like you take that game completely out of Houston's hands. They get the ball back, and even with whatever it was, 15 seconds left on the clock, they score a touchdown, go for 2 even. They still can't win the game.
They're still not getting it. Yeah.
So there's just no shot at happening.
That's why I was like, you'd have to do all of that plus, like, even if you score. So say they, like in that scenario, they score, a punt return happens, right? So they get their 6. And that's the absolute, one of the worst case scenarios, but not even like, because you're still, like we said, 11 points, right?
Yeah.
So then you go and say you get the 6 on the board, right? Then you still have to go through all the other shit, get a 2-point conversion, then literally recover the onside kick, and fucking go and basically get your field goal as well, if not try and score a touchdown.
There's a lot regardless, yes.
You would have to do all of that. So why as well just give them the 2 points? It's just crazy that that's the outcome to a scenario.
Very suspect.
Very sus. Very sus.
Very suspect. But I mean, it's at this point, are we shocked? Are we fucking shocked?
No.
Are we? It's every week with this team where it's like, and I don't know about you, but I watched every game this weekend.
Yeah,
I watched every game this weekend.
Yep.
In every other game,
absolutely.
There was not a slaughter of calls where I was shaking my head, going, "What the fuck?" And that's fixed. Like, the outcome of the game is being fucked here.
The crazy part to this is the efficiency of Houston, right? Like, Houston had 336 offensive yards to 212 to Kansas City. Possession time was 33 minutes to 26. Bro,
Kansas City didn't fucking do anything.
Kansas City did barely anything. Now they played
fucking nothing, man.
They played well on defense. And that's about what the Kansas City Chiefs are this season, because Patrick Mahomes has done fucking nothing.
Dude, I am at the point where we talked about this last show, and I'm going to talk about the right now. And we talked about, okay, there's this elite tier of quarterbacks. Bro, he is not even in this elite tier anymore. I don't give a fuck how many Super Bowl rings you have. I'm talking about right fucking now when the games are being played. This dude is not, especially when he's flopping out of bounds like that now.
So you know what it is to me?
I lost all respect for him after I saw that shit.
There may not be the stats on the side of this, but he is the game's best game manager. And that is hands down. Isn't.
You know who is, Jeff? The fucking officials are, buddy.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Regardless, he understands, and he's stirring the pot, putting in the ingredients to say, hey, listen,
he's the
guys,
most
this is the situation that's about to happen
in the world right now.
He's not, definitely, like we talked about this, not a Pro Bowl quarterback, but the guy that you want on your team right now to lead you to the Super Bowl is probably still Patrick Mahomes. And I will still say that because he gets the calls, but like, he game manages according to that. And he knows what to do.
Listen.
Like, I think that's the problem with right now in the NFL is every other fan right now is watching this and going, what the fuck? Because their same quarterbacks aren't necessarily getting those calls in those situations. It's, we just did the post online. 94% of the fans that responded to that post about our quarterbacks too protected in this league, right? And it was based on a post that was the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, right? Like, and it being forced down our throats yet again. So now you have another situation where, hey, this is a play that's going to happen. It's going to turn a game potentially, or just swing at least to another first down call. And that's the difference maker on these. I think everyone gets so fucking high strung on Kansas City and these play calls, but it, like we had talked about before, it's when they happen. It's in the absolute pinnacle points of the game where in the last 5 minutes it's deciding whether or not it's a first down or it's a fourth down, and that matters, right? And so when you get into these situations, and Houston was subject to it, where it was like, boom, you're going to put yourself in these play situations, and this guy, and that's why I say he's the greatest fucking game manager right now, is he knows it. And he's playing to it. And that's bullshit. But that's how the NFL right now is playing. And that's unfortunate. But it's what it is.
You know what? This is the problem. You and everybody like you and what you just did right there is the problem. You are essentially, you and the league at this current point are just gaslighting us into believing that this is okay. It's okay to put this guy on this fucking pedestal. It's okay to watch him slow down ever so slightly and then flop and make this product look so pathetic. Like,
I said that,
but
that is what it is.
Arguing him
That's the reality.
Into this game manager role, amazing game. No, dude, that is not it anymore. This guy is officially ruining the product on the field. He's mocking the game, and the integrity of the sport is being ruined in front of us. And we're all seeing that, man. You have the players visibly coming out now saying, listen, like, we know what it is when we go in there. We're playing the officials too. They're not afraid to say that shit. Bro, you got Joe Buck and Troy Aikman in the booth going like, oh, that's fucked. Like, you have people now stepping out being like, I've seen enough. Great, we knew he was the guy, but now it's getting far too out of hand. And we saw that on the weekend with the fact that he got the roughing the passer and the unnecessary roughness nonsense. And then, not only that, to top it all off, he just flops and tries to get another call. Like, dude, I am so sick of watching this team. I'm sick of watching this quarterback. I could give a fuck about this team and what he's done to this league. It's a joke. All I care about is everybody else because they're playing this game fair. And there is a multitude of different instances this weekend where Jalen Hurts was hit late, where Lamar Jackson yesterday was hit late out of bounds. Like, they aren't getting flags. Why the fuck does Kansas City get it? And let me ask you this. Has there ever been a call in a situation that's been game-changing go opposite of Kansas City's way this year? No, there fucking hasn't. And you wonder why they've won so many one-score games. And this isn't even me being like, I hate the Chiefs. It's factually evident now. You are seeing this. What else are we doing?
Yeah.
So if not for, like, this is a forced thing by the league, I don't know what to do. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, no,
this is sad.
I think there are those calls that are there, and that's why I said we talked about this. I don't know how many pods ago, but there are those calls now. In order for Kansas City to be the most successful in this scenario with the optics that are on this team, is almost nothing has to go their way. The problem being, into what you just pointed out, is the timing on these calls, the plays that are being not called in other games, and the consistencies that are happening elsewhere in the league are not the same right now that they are for Kansas City. And that's the wild part to it. But I believe with 5 minutes left in the game, like, I think they're top 3, if I recall, in calls against obviously the other opposing team, right? So it's like penalties are being called in the most critical part of the game. You have obviously what you have in a quarter in the fourth in terms of minutes, and in the last 5 minutes every single game there's a call going the other way, and they're top 3 in that stat. So that is crazy, but that is also just, hey, we talked about it last week. We talked about it, obviously, what was going on or prior to that, right? In these moments, the penalties and the total yards actually don't always benefit Kansas City. And that's what the fans in, like, different spots, they go, okay, well, if they don't have the penalties, they don't have the yards, then how big is it? It's when every fucking time that this is happening.
Crucial. Like, that was a sack on a third down.
It completely changes the game.
And then they get a fresh set of downs. Like, this shit has to stop. And the problem with this league is, you watch that stuff, you can clearly see the bias. You can clearly see it. There is no argument towards non-bias anymore. It is there. It is evident.
I will
say, Mahomes milking this shit, and it's like he's spitting in our faces while he does this stuff, and he's just like, I'm getting it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is my thing, right? Like, this year, we know Patrick Mahomes hasn't won these games with his play or his performance, right? The wild part is Kansas City is obviously a top 5 defense. They have won these fucking games. Like, they sacked Stroud 8 times in this game. They have done their part to put themselves in the position to win these games. Now, the flip to that is the offense that hasn't been as efficient or hasn't done what they've been, known to do in seasons past, now is getting these calls still, right? And it's game defining. It's your defense probably won you that game in the grand scheme of things, but that one late call that pushed the other team that further away from that victory is the defining play. Right? It could be that forced fumble on the defense, earlier in the fourth quarter, but that play that happened in the last 5 minutes of the game, that was the one that sealed it, right? And that's what I don't think fans completely see, and that's what, if you're looking at it from an overall perspective, you're like, yeah, that play was huge, but that was bigger.
Yeah, it's fucking nonsense. It's nonsense. It's absolute not, dude. I am like, I understand your points and everything, but I've seen enough, man. I've seen enough. Okay, listen. There's this stuff where it's like, oh well, obviously Houston kicker, he missed extra point, field goal, yada yada. Like, yeah, I absolutely understand that, which makes it even more embarrassing. The fact that you need that against the Houston Texans team that was like, we knew that they weren't really going to contend, but they did. They hung in there. They actually had more offensive yardage than the Chiefs did, and time of possession. And this is the thing that swings it, man. Like, it's these momentum shifts that happen when you get these penalties in these crucial moments. They change the dynamics of the game, and it's just, let's see one go the other way. Like, if it balanced out, no one would bat an eye, but you are seeing a consistent string of this shit go one way and one way only, all the way, and it's heartbreaking to see for someone who loves the sport and the game as a whole, because you just want to see good competition, right? Good, healthy competition. Let's see people battle it out. But it's almost like, what the fuck are we even doing here? What are we doing showing up to this shit?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. This is going to be interesting to see now.
This team's offense was garbage. Like, I'm looking at the stats overall, and it's just like, they had first downs, like total first downs compared to team right here. So 18 for Houston, 14 for Kansas City. And then third down efficiency. So 59% for Houston, 10 of 17, 36, 4 of 11 for Kansas City.
Kansas City is fucking ass. Like, their offense is dog shit, dude. Like, I told you, man, Mahomes is getting kicked the fuck out. I'm sick of coddling this motherfucker, man. Like, he's not even in a tier with these other guys right now. He's a mid-quarterback, bro. He's
last
the Jared
2 seasons,
Goffs
I would agree that it has not been the offensive juggernaut that it has been in seasons past. This dude is fucking
ass. And if it wasn't for this defense saving his ass the entire time and the officiating, man, like, God forbid we go into these next couple games and this shit happens. Like, I watched it, man. I watched it in the Super Bowl multiple times. The holding calls last year against San Francisco, it's still going on. It's still happening. Buddies, the right tackle is jumping every fucking play again. Like, same shit is happening. And then you go back to the Super Bowl against the Eagles with that fucking hold. All the nonsense that's gone their way. I could care less to see this shit anymore. Just, Josh Allen, save us, please. Please save us from having to watch this nonsense. I can't stand it, but it is what it is. Houston didn't play well enough to win the game in the first place.
Didn't.
But now
short.
You're going to see,
didn't play well enough.
Yeah. They didn't play well enough, but at the same time,
they weren't that team. We didn't if you expected the Chiefs to go in there and lose to the Texans outright, that would have been a wild fucking take. Like,
absolutely.
wild.
But they hung in there, man. They played a lot better than I expected them to. And that's frustrating to see. But I mean, fuck. Chiefs, we'll see how that goes down the line. But anything else kind of stand out to you? I know we had like a few different things in this game. Another thing too, did you see Boyd, the Houston Texans player? At the start of the game there, push the coach.
That's wild too.
This is the other thing, man. Like, didn't Travis Kelce do this? Andy Reid one time? And what is it? Oh, that's just Kelce, right? It's just being a competitor, just competitor spirit, right? But this guy, he's getting axed. Like, people talking about him being cut the next day. This is the shit we're done with. Yeah. We're done with this shit.
Yeah, I think Kelce and that whole thing did get resolved relatively quickly. I think
no shit, because they won the Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah, obviously. But this whole situation was wild. Number one, helmet off on the field running, then fucking pushing your coach. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he was fired up. You can't be doing that shit. But
I can't remember where he came from college wise, but I saw some comments about it. Like, yeah, this guy hasn't fucking changed. Like, and I was just laughing. I was like, hey, that's that kind of speaks to things. That apparently is just Houston defense as a whole, because we talked about obviously earlier in the season, like just a bunch of basket cases looks like the case. So fuck it. Here we are.
Jeez. Well, I mean, fuck. It is what it is. Houston's got to go back to the drawing board, but I think, they won probably one game more than we would have expected, I think, in the playoffs. And it's not to say they aren't going to be a good team. They'll be a good team. They'll get better. But it is what it is. Now, into the later game in that evening there, we got Detroit, man. Detroit in that later slot. This was the big letdown. Big letdown of the weekend. Everybody had them going in. Detroit Lions, massive season. Man, football is so fucking unforgiving, eh? What a year. Yeah. 2 losses this team had all year, and they lose their first playoff game.
They were so crippled walking into this too, though. Like, this is like
whoa. We're not just gonna chalk it up to being crippled here.
We talked.
This is where I wanted to gauge what your
week.
take was gonna be.
We walked into this every fucking week, and we said, God, and especially in the last 3 weeks, we said, I wish this Detroit team had a healthy squad. If you don't think, and if I'm definitely doing it, that I'm not putting fucking Detroit on my Super Bowl ticket next season, when this season starts up, because of the situation that they have. Obviously, they're going to lose their offensive coordinator. They did. That happened, and we'll get into that a little bit. But the fact that this team is a juggernaut of a team, like offensively and defensively, and they lost a lot of parts on defense throughout this fucking last 7 weeks. They were just hobbling. And every time that I saw a fucking injured player on the field and cut commercial to fucking Applebee's,
they lost
I was
the corner
dying.
in the first, on the first drive. He snapped his fucking arm in half. I was like, jeez,
holy
man.
shit. It was nonstop over the last 6 weeks. Then and obviously started with Hutchinson, where we were all like, fuck, that's a massive blow. We were calling for them to trade for Crosby. These type of situations, this team was such a complete team. And the fact that they had to hobble into this fucking matchup, and they rightfully go. They got the
lowest seeded team.
Yeah. But that is what it is. At some point, it's got to give, and I think this was just that point. They had run into it, like you just said, first fucking play, and you lose someone again. And again, it's just now your matchups change. And so much of these games are defined by matchups. This team, Washington, is such a weird team to play against in general, right? They just have different avenues that they can attack you with, much the same as Detroit does. They just have a far more complete team. Right, but give this Washington team a bit of time to breathe and figure it out. And I was saying, holy fuck, this is the rise of Jayden, because you can tell that this guy is calm, cool, and collected. He wasn't nervous about this fucking game at all, which was awesome. I love it when a quarterback just seems chill as shit and just goes out and does their business. Your boy is one of the best at it. These guys are
LSU
going to be
QBs,
studs, man. That is, seriously. And this situation was just, there was never a moment where I was when you sent me a text in the fucking, at halftime, said, I think I'm going to hammer Detroit. And I was I
typed it in, I told you, but I
said, I was I hope you fucking didn't. Because it was just, you could tell that this game was getting away from them. They were doing too much shit. They were trying too much shit. JMO throwing a pick was the dumbest stuff I've ever seen in my life. Why you're calling that with, 6 or 7 minutes left on the clock in the fourth? Is just stupid. So it's those type of calls and those type of decisions were they were game changing. They was just it was almost not even game changing. It was game solidifying for Washington to win. And I was this is just one of those games that Detroit's not going to win here. They're too far and out. They can't come up with a way to get through here. And Washington's just playing really, really fucking sound, efficient football. And that was the difference. Can't get into it anymore.
Really yeah, I think I want to give more the praise here to Washington, the coaching staff, and Jayden Daniels. Like you said, they came out, they had a great game plan. They utilize everybody on that team so well right now. Detroit's defense is not the greatest, and in the secondary right now they're beat up, and I get that's a big part of it. But you got home field, man. You've been so dominant, and you know what I think their problem was they were so damn good with Jahmyr Gibbs at the end of that season there, right? They get Monty back, and they start the drive off with him. Guy wasn't really doing, and then you put Gibbs in, and he's 10 yards a pop every time. He's just a different back. And the fact that I think they got away from just utilizing that skill set immediately, and not just sticking with their gun and not trying to get back to, that whole split, yada, yada, yada. That is what they needed to rely on. And one thing I wanted to point out was the thing that I said earlier in the year about Jared Goff. As a quarterback. And everybody was talking about that. And I said, this guy is going to flourish with a roster of talent, just like he has. But there's a reason why Sean McVay traded him to Detroit. And that's because of the fact that he can't win the big games in the big moments. And you just had another one. And what are the narratives coming out right now? It's like, it's completely turned. Everybody was talking about how Jared Goff, Lions won this trade, blah, blah, blah. And then
I think the Lions did win that trade. Well, on the grand scheme of all the players.
Let me ask you this. If they don't win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, did they win the trade?
That's a good point.
I don't think they do. And I told you, you better fucking win this thing relatively soon, because when that roster and these contracts start coming to fruition, you just paid Amon-Ra, you paid your tackles here, you gave Monty another you got Gibbs you got to pay, you got Laporta you got to pay, you got
everyone
James
from that deal you got to pay.
You got Aiden Hutchinson you got to pay. This is what happens when you draft well. And then you got Jared Goff's
knocked it out of the park with all of those drafted picks.
That's why they're so good, right?
Yeah.
But to flop in the first round, I put that on Jared fucking Goff and the turnovers. I don't give a fuck about the defense. Defense or not. You pay a quarterback that kind of money.
Yeah.
You are you lose two games a year. You got to win that, man. That's at home against the fucking 7 seed.
Yeah.
6 seed. Washington was 6 seed, I think.
Yeah, you can't be throwing picks.
You can't be turning the ball over like that, man.
No.
And
it's the telltale for all of the downfall of every single player that we're talking about in these big games, right? Is their interceptions and
that's the narrative right now.
It's
falling. The Jordan Love, it's the Jared Goff, it's the Justin Herbert, it's these guys, it's now the Lamar Jackson, this same narrative.
That was wild.
They can't win the clutch ones.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But
we'll get to that too. But I don't know how many times I got to say it. It's a team sport at the end of the day, but in the big moments, that's where the quarterback gets paid the dollars, right? And there's a reason why I'm over here chanting Joey B all the damn time, because he's been in the playoffs 2 years when he's healthy. Yeah. Except for this year, shitty. But when he's in the playoffs, you know what he's done? He's taken his team to back-to-back championship games and a Super Bowl. So there's only a couple guys in this league that have it, and that's why I'm always
What's the stat on that? I think it's the paid quarterbacks right now, of all the paid quarterbacks.
One of them is left. Yeah.
And that's just wild in general. But I guess it's just, again, what speaks to the context of these teams and the NFL and how these contracts are getting paid.
They're going to get re-upped too, though, right? It's just because they signed
those a little bit earlier. Mahomes started the massive contract when it all first began, right?
Deservingly so, right?
Yeah,
you
it
do
makes
what you
perfect
do coming
sense.
out of the gate, by all means. But we're far from that. That. But you look at that, it's crazy. I'm happy for Commanders fans. You know what the funny thing is? Now that they've made it to the NFC Championship game, there's only one team in the NFC that has not been to a title game. I think it's since 2000 or something like that. Do you know who that team is? The Dallas fucking Cowboys.
Yeah, I saw that.
The only NFC team to not make a conference title is insane.
Jerry, what's happening?
Insane. Think of the teams in the NFC, man. Yeah. Everybody's made it. The Arizona Cardinals, man.
Here we go.
Dude, that if that doesn't say something's wrong over there, I don't know what else to tell you.
It probably speaks to everything, that where your money is being spent, who you're investing into. It's wild. Yeah, and that team's not making it to that in I don't know fucking when. Wow, I can't put a finger on when they're going to be back to that conversation at all. Dak, when he's healthy, is a really good fucking quarterback in the regular season. But that you can't pay your ticket there. It means fuck all.
There's a reason why there's only been 4 representatives to go to the Super Bowl for the AFC in the last 15 years.
Yeah. Can we also just say Brady, that
Mahomes,
I'd be shocked if over the next few seasons that this isn't an AFC team winning the Super Bowl as well? I just can't see. Yeah, I can't see this this coming through for an NFC team just based on how things are built. They have great fucking teams, and I think that's the biggest contest here. Obviously, the Rams, when they won, had a great fucking team, and Stafford was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL that season. But
still is.
And still, yeah, he still does his shit, which is incredible. But
yeah, they almost won that game last
yeah,
year.
like, and we were all betting Rams in this game because of that, right? So you put your money and you put your investment into your quarterback, usually pays out. You just made mention of it, right? Did the Rams win that fucking deal just because they got a Super Bowl? And the answer to that is probably
always
like,
yes.
Yes, right?
If you get a Super Bowl, if you get the chip, that's what we all do it for, right? Like, doesn't matter
that's what you're trying to do.
How many wins you get in the regular season. If you don't win shit, it doesn't mean anything. Like, you're the what if. So, and that's that's the story here with a lot of these games and what they've meant. But hats off to the Commanders, man. I'm happy for the fans. I'm happy for that team.
Let's see it. I love it. Let's see what this team does.
We're going to be cheering for them, man.
I'm 100%. As much as I like Bills, Saquon and just everything that Saquon represents in terms of like
that too, yeah.
That's the favorite player that's going in this with Philly. Like no one I don't think likes Philly, but everyone likes Saquon. So hey, you want to cheer for one guy, that's your guy. But
that's the next game. I think we can talk about that. That was the early one on the Sunday. Kind of going off what you just said there. Nobody wants to see Philly, and I saw a funny tweet today on Twitter. It was like, Jayden Daniels, please save us from watching Jalen Hurts throw 120 yards in the Super Bowl. And I was like, oh my God.
Hey, he ran.
That's not the truth, man. That's not the truth. But Saquon this is one thing I'm thinking about today, because you saw the bet I put in on Saquon yesterday, and this guy is the hot hand. You got to ride him. I was looking at his prop. They got the line out there. 123 yards is the over-under right now.
Yeah.
And let me
What's his rush rec? That's the curious question for me.
That'd be
160.
That would be nuts. Yeah.
Seriously.
I just want you guys to remember that Washington is one of the worst teams
against
the run as
well.
What,
were they ranked 30th?
Like this.
Seriously.
This is, if I'm looking at 123 yards from Saquon, and I'm probably throwing a bag at it again because of the fact that Jalen Hurts is banged up. They're going to run the ball through Saquon again. This dude is their team. And you know what the funny thing is, man? That GM over in New York, if I was the owner of the New York Giants right now, if I was John Mara, I would walk into that man's office and escort him out of the building immediately. Yeah. Immediately.
Between that and like Saquon everything that's coming on with social media surrounding basically his kid is a better fucking GM than he is at this point. Yeah. Because not only did he say about Saquon, he also said about Jayden Daniels and just everything that's come around that honestly terrible managed. It's one of the worst things I've seen, like an absolute tire fire.
It is incredible. This man gets paid the dollars he does to escort one of this generation's most talented players. Just we're gonna let you test free agency. Holy fuck, dude! Like, I just don't know how this man is still in that building right now. I do not understand that. I don't get it. And I'm happy for Saquon, man. I hope he makes it all the way to the show.
That's it.
That's one reason I want Philly to be there, is for Saquon, because he is unbelievable. And I just want to watch him go off and see. I'd love to see him.
We can't say about the Philly fans, or at least one guy specifically, that guy got absolutely torched online, as he should.
Deservingly so.
Yeah. But oh my God. Brutal. Yeah, no, if you're going to talk about the players, and at least one player in particular, because we've said this team has been dramatic the entire season, the coaching situation with the fans, the fucking everything to do with Sirianni, everything to do with AJ Brown. Devontae Smith is basically just in the background fucking, I don't know. Maybe he's reading Inner Excellence. I don't know. But like, seriously, like the only person that I'm like week in, week out being like, I just want to see this guy succeed is Saquon. And that's been shown. Man, what a fucking game. Like, and just like even the clip that's going around right now where he looks at Jalen and goes, watch this, because he sees the play in front of him. I, as a quarterback, had that with one of my backs where he's just like, this is the one. And I was like, okay. And then we fucking roll. And it's beautiful. When you see a fucking guy recognize a play like that, and then he runs it absolutely down the throat and goes for a touchdown, fucking beautiful, especially a big one like that. So,
and when he cashes for me on my bet,
when you're winning like a couple
I love that as well. I was sweating that one out a little bit, but I was just like, you know what? The line was so big. I'm like, I'm gonna take.
Well, you doubled down too. Like you went first up on his fucking rushing, and then you're like, yeah, I'm going for the second one that's posted here too.
I took it. I'm like, man, the unique thing about Saquon is he just like, and I took yardage. I was sitting there. I'm like, fuck, I should have taken attempts. Because the attempts line hit, and then I needed like a big break. He needed like 30 yards at the end there, and I'm like, fuck, like he has to break one here. And lo and behold, I just see the crease, and he goes, and I'm like, oh,
26
such
carries,
a beautiful sight.
205 yards, 2 touchdowns.
It's insane.
That is literally carrying your fucking team. I know we talked about Josh Allen and how much he's carried Buffalo. It is hard pressed to say that Saquon hasn't fucking carried Philly in the last 8 weeks of the season here, especially with Jalen Hurts being hurt, AJ Brown trying to find himself, and everything else that's fucking happening.
That team is
literally that team needed Saquon. It's the only reason that they're going to go to the Super Bowl here.
It is
when it comes down to it.
If this team did not have Saquon, they would not be in the position they are in, and I think it's the perfect fit for him. Great offensive line. It's built off that run game, the RPO stuff. You got good receivers on the outside. Like, they are the perfect team to have a Saquon Barkley, and you're seeing it, man. This dude he looks incredible. I don't know how you're going to stop him. So that was the Philly side of things. Rams side of things, man, I think we knew Stafford was like 1-8 in snow games, weather games going into this.
Yes. That was the story.
Albeit, you know what, they had to come back at the end, and they were in there. They were running the ball a lot better than I thought they would. And Stafford and McVay they're great at what they do. They're great at what they do. They're always going to be in it. And you saw that.
No, if there's one quarterback in this league right now that you know is an absolute professional, that is just when you need a quarterback play to happen, and with like that mid to like top end quarterback, I'd pick in Stafford every fucking time to make that happen.
I would agree.
This guy is just fucking amazing in these moments, and it's hard to argue. Like he's just been at it for so long. He's kind of the last of that aging group as well that I honestly trust in this league, and hard not to go with Stafford and making these plays when you need them. Like, and they're just smart. Like, he gets out of the pocket and he still makes plays happen, and. Hard not to cheer for the guy either.
The sad thing is you see like the locker room commentary from him, and it's like I gotta think about my future, and is this going to be the last we see of Matt Stafford? And then there's also Cooper Kupp on the other side of things at such a like nosedive on the back end of the season, and like we don't know what his future is going to look like if it's with the Rams here too. Like, and we already had McVay talked about retirement a couple of years back, and like. Just a lot of uncertainty from that group of guys, and that's going to be an interesting story in the offseason. But, man, they hung in there. But I did take them because I just banked on Stafford to at least get to that point because of the quarterback. McVay's an amazing coach. But, yeah, man, that's going to be an interesting story to see. So now we got Commanders going into Philly for that NFC Championship game. And then we saved the best for last here, Chappy. Save the best game for last. The MVP conversation.
MVP.
With the Buffalo Bills.
It's already sewn up, but let's talk about it. Who is the best quarterback in this fucking game? I want to hear your take on this because the stats are there. Let's go through them. Who did you think was the best quarterback? Who led their team to this victory?
I mean, at the end of the day, the best quarterback's the one that wins the game, Chappy. You know that. Come on now.
Not the 114, not the passer rating, not the guy that threw for 254.
Yeah,
has an all-time completion.
This wasn't a massive Josh Allen game. Like, it's not like Josh Allen did anything amazing, but you know what? He won. This is what we judge quarterbacks by.
Yeah.
Did you win the game? Right?
Yeah.
We talked about this shit and where they are. Like, are you the one that's winning the game? And we knew going into this, whoever comes out on the opposite end of this is going to get slaughtered regardless. Yeah. Because these are two quarterbacks where it's like the narrative has always been, can you win that game? Someone was going to get it either way. Yeah. Either way it comes out, right? That was the expectation and such as such. But I think, like, I'm not going to sit up here and just spew flames over Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. That would be immature of me, right?
It would be.
I can still give these guys some flowers. I can still talk about a lot of what went on without the bias Raven hater inside of me. But I will just say, no, Lamar, I thought he put them in an opportunity to win that game, right?
Absolutely.
And we can talk about the ending of this. We'll get to that. But let's talk about preliminarily what happened first. And I think a big topic of conversation over the weekend was just the teams that lost the turnover battle. It's a game of turnovers.
They did.
Ravens turned the ball over yesterday. The fact that they were still in that game amazes me. That goes to show, like, they were this close to that argument being flipped and then it being like Josh Allen just didn't show up, right?
What was the thing I said to you as soon as they kicked that field goal at the end of that game?
Yeah.
And what was my text to you?
Bills lose.
Bills lose. And that's just based on the history of what happens with Josh Allen in these games, and just he gives it over, and the defense unfortunately gives it up, right? Yeah. 13 seconds is the number that no one wants to hear on Bills Mafia. It's just in those situations, we've seen it time and time again where Josh Allen plays so fucking well and then gives it up, and the defense crumbles it for him. And I was looking at this game, and I'm going, I think it's going to happen again. And it was literally 1 2-point convert away from going OT, and who knows what would have happened in the last 5 minutes. But just incredible. It was definitely one on the ground. I think that's the biggest thing that we can talk about is that, Josh Allen used his legs where, and got into those situations where, on the goal line, he was determined and got the fucking 2 scores. The game wasn't going to be won in the air in that weather. And I think that was the biggest thing that was the difference maker, was turnovers were happening. And there's a play style that you need to have in these games. And we saw it in the snow game prior in the season. You have to play a certain way. And this game was so evenly matched throughout it that it was like, they went up, they then scored that late field goal. And then it was kind of like, you know what? I think Lamar has the ability to make this tight. And the funniest thing to me was that, I don't know if you saw this clip going around online, but there is literally John Harbaugh has picked everyone but fucking Derrick Henry to go and fucking take that 2-point convert and win it.
Yeah.
Right? And then on the flip side has picked fucking the same play on 2-point converts to Mark Andrews on the fucking post on the right-hand side of the fucking field, and it has gone 0 for 3. At what point do you say to yourself, number one, as a defense, just go to Mark Andrews? Number two, it hasn't fucking worked, change it up. You have the best backfield in the fucking NFL. Literally run the ball with that tank. This is the Marshawn shit all over again. Run the fucking ball.
The play was there. It's a great play call.
It's the same play call. It hasn't worked 3 times. Don't fucking go for it. Dude, I just don't in that play.
The ball was there.
It was in his hands.
The play was
dropped,
there.
But it's dropped 3 times.
Just because it didn't work doesn't mean the play call wasn't correct in that situation. There's a lot of instances in that game. I think in that game, and you know what? I love that you're saying this, because this is going to segue into another topic that I want to or argument that I want to get into. But give me a sec here. Let me get this out. It was a great play call. It worked. I think when
it didn't work.
you got all this, it was wide open. It was there. Yeah. It was clearly there
for sure.
The thing that I keep seeing is the Mark Andrews stuff, and it's Lamar could have thrown a better ball. You threw it behind him. You got to hit him in stride, and that's an easy touchdown. He double clutched, and he threw it when he was already at the pylon. Mark Andrews had to catch it in an awkward position. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and say it's all completely on Mark Andrews. That's tough. It's tough. But at the same time, what do you say when you have a $50 million quarterback? What do you normally say? If this was Josh Allen, put the ball in his hands. But what does everybody do when Baltimore's playing? Put the ball in Derrick Henry's hands. Does that not say something about who you trust more in this offense and as a quarterback? Is we talk about, okay, Baltimore's losing. Everybody's narrative when a team is down is put the ball in the playmaker's hand, right? But for some reason, why does Baltimore get a pass? Everybody's take the ball out of Lamar's hands and put it in Derrick Henry's hands.
That's what I'm saying, right? In these situations, why would you not elect to go, right? With I just don't get,
that's number one, it hasn't
worked. He's got to make the play, sure. I think in and out of the hands 3 separate times on the same play on 2-point converts is pretty much, to anyone else, the definition of insanity. We'll just run the same fucking thing. It's clearly he's there, he's open. He was there and open 2 other times, and it didn't work out. This is the 3rd time that you did that same play, and it doesn't work out. When you have the backfield that you have, to me, this Harbaugh lost the game, not Lamar, not fucking anybody else. Harbaugh could have made a call to put that ball in Derrick Henry's hands, and he could have made a play call to put the ball play action into Lamar's hands in that situation when you need a score. It didn't happen. If you're saying that the play call is then automatically to be hey, Lamar isn't that guy because of that, I don't know if that's the fucking case with a 2-time MVP. But in this situation, it more defines to me, what the fuck are you doing in these situations? As a play caller, I just don't get that. I don't get that.
I understand where you're coming from, but I told you, man. This is the shit I'm hearing all day, and I'm sick of Lamar Jackson getting pampered. Why does he get deferred from all this hatred of it's on you, where every other quarterback gets it, but in these circumstances, it's it's not Lamar's fault, it's John Harbaugh's fault, it's Mark Andrews' fault. No, motherfucker, that is your quarterback who you pay $50 million a year to go make a play. Make the fucking play, right? I don't want to hear this shit. I don't know what you coddle this quarterback so much.
I don't know what you would have wanted. I don't think, number one, the situation and what it was on that play call, that he didn't make an effective pass in that scenario for what was open. I don't see that.
You gotta hit your receiver in stride, man. He double clutched, and Mark Andrews was backing up into the pylon.
He was falling into it already, though,
because he's past the stride of where you're supposed to throw the ball. That is why. Because he pulled it back. He went like this, pulled it back, and then made the throw. And that's what you get. That's what you get. That's your quarterback right there. You put the ball in his hands, Mr. MVP. Woo, MVP. And that's what you fucking get. So, and this, every time I come on this show and I talk about this, and you guys are like, oh, Lamar's electric, but then you give him these passes every time with this nonsense. This guy has 3 playoff wins, people. 3. And you're talking about a 3rd MVP. Do you know that every single MVP winner in previous history has a fucking Super Bowl ring?
Yes. I saw that.
And they've gone to meaningful games. They've won handfuls of meaningful games.
Yeah.
This dude hasn't won shit. Yet you continue to sit here and
that's because the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL.
Hey, buddy. Joe Burrow did it. We beat Patrick Mahomes.
You're not wrong.
So, and Josh Allen has a chance to do this. It's about winning games, man. I don't give a shit how flashy you are in the regular season. And this is the bias that I hate, man. You give this guy a pass. You give him a pass all the time. And if that was the other side, Josh Allen would have gotten all the blame for that. It wouldn't have been McDermott. It wouldn't have been anybody else. It would have been Josh Allen. But now that Lamar's in this situation, it's Mark Andrews. Oh, John Harbaugh's play calling. No, bro. This dude turned the ball over 2 times early in the game, fucked up, clearly isn't that great throwing the ball in the game. You put that on your quarterback. You put it on him.
I don't know if he wasn't that great throwing the ball in this game. I just don't think it was the game to run that play. Well,
he didn't do enough to win, did he, Jeff?
Listen,
so what are we talking about
here? Effectively threw the ball all game. He played well. He fucking was the better quarterback statistically in this game outside of the
don't
fucking
mean shit. We know that already.
We know that it's fucking going down to the wire, but then that's my point. In this situation, in a fucking snow globe, you were like, you know what, on our final play that's deciding our fucking game, even the announcer, oh, he dropped it. There is a weather element that you just completely ignored in this situation. And I think you can't ignore it. Like, there are elements to that play that are also Mark Andrews potentially slipping, that are also the ball being fucking wet. There's all of these other scenarios that could have came into play. And you're saying it has to be a perfect pass. And I honestly don't agree with you completely. I don't think it was a bad pass.
Mark Andrews could have caught that, but
he should have or could have caught it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. But then you have the two best, most dynamic runners in the game outside of the guy we talked about in Philly on your fucking team, and you decided in that play you're going to pass it.
Put it into Derrick Henry's hand.
Win the game. That's all that matters, and they didn't, and that's what happened.
What are we saying?
And here we are.
Game? Why didn't Baltimore run the ball more? Why didn't they run the ball more? Nobody says that if you're a great quarterback in this league. Nobody says that.
I think at the end of the day, I'm not going to say that Lamar.
You know what? I really wish Belichick and Brady ran the ball a lot more.
That's not their game, though. Like, that's such a stupid argument to have, though. Like, when it's literally Lamar. Well, Lamar is a running quarterback. That is his game.
So then why don't you have more runs for him?
He also put up record numbers as a fucking passer this season. And obviously we can get into topics on the passer efficiencies and what that means. Pass the ball a certain amount. Regardless.
Here.
But here we are in this scenario. You have a running quarterback, and you don't use that, or your back, your fucking unit, who's just opposed to just almost touching 2,000 yards, and you go and say, you know what, we're going to throw this ball on a 2-point convert that we need in order to fucking extend this game and our playoff chances. That's the point that I'm trying to make, is you have offenses. Is Burrow going to throw that ball in that situation? Absolutely. Is Mahomes going to maybe run it or pass it? I don't fucking know. That's just Kansas City. But, like, to say that Lamar is just... you're going to take the ball out of Lamar's hands in this situation is silly. Lamar had the ball. Lamar had the ball, but he didn't have it in the way that should have been. In my opinion, it should have been a fake play, and he should have run.
Shouldn't have thrown it?
Should have run.
Interesting.
That's such a stupid argument.
It's not a stupid argument.
Yeah. There was also the play. The play call wasn't the right play call, in my opinion. It just wasn't smart. It's literally failed 3 times.
Hindsight is so easy to see it, but dude, it's not like Derrick Henry was popping off all game either. Like, there's a reason why he wasn't on the field. There's a reason why he only had so many carries. And I told you, like, you got to give this guy the ball. Now, that's the thing. You got to ask the questions to the coach. Why wasn't he getting the ball more? I get that you were down by like 11 points pretty quick. Shit happens, but you can't get away from what the identity of your offense is.
I took him halfway through when his line changed. I was like 100% I'm taking Derrick Henry on the over on the rushing game because they need it. You took him on the 13.5 that the in-game went for it. Yep. I was like, yeah, that's the right fucking call because this game they'll lean to him, right? But then when you needed it most, you didn't lean to what your game is, which is the run game in a lot of the fucking all season long. So I'm like, that's where I'm just confused at the play call. When you have that in your arsenal and you decide to go away from it, then you shouldn't be upset at the fucking drop the ball scenario, in my opinion.
I mean, regardless, like hindsight, man, like you could run the ball right into a line. Like that's what Buffalo is playing for, and they've played it pretty well all game.
They did.
I don't blame them for taking that shot. It was there, it was open, just couldn't connect, and that's unfortunate. But here we are again, and it's Lamar Jackson, 3 playoff wins. That's all it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to.
That's all it comes down to. So we have all these narratives about the quarterbacks and stuff, and I'm sitting here and I'm laughing. I'm just like, dude, this is pathetic. Like, I don't want to hear anything more about this dude until he wins some meaningful games. As electric and dynamic as he is, when it matters the most, he's just not there. And you know what's even scarier is if you think Cincinnati is going to be as shit next year, you got another thing coming. Teams are only going to get better. They're going to lose players. Like, these are opportunities you can't whiff on.
The Ravens players, I think it was Humphrey that was saying, like, we'll see where this goes.
We'll see. Like, this team isn't going to be here next year. Like, you just don't know what you have in these moments.
Getting a little older. Yes. There's a lot of things. This window is tight, and it is an interesting window here. So we'll see. Maybe it was the Ravens' last hurrah. We'll see how it goes. But
I mean, they're an incredible organization. They always have been. I don't expect them.
Yeah, not that last
like
hurrah, but maybe
this is the difference, man. You got Lamar Jackson approaching 30 years of age, right?
Yeah, he's 28.
A player of what his capabilities and what he does, his playing style. Yeah, that's not the type of quarterback that gets better going into these later ages. He's not going to flourish down the line from the pocket. So you better fucking do something quick here, Baltimore, because this window is going to close fast on you guys. And I think that's why I look at this. I'm like, you're fumbling another opportunity. So that's crazy to see for me, but it is what it is, bro. You got to win the big games in this league. Got to win the big games. But aside from that, Josh Allen, he's got to be the savior. He's got to be the savior.
He's got to be the savior.
He's got to be the savior for all of us. I think we're all, just sitting here saying a prayer. Josh, please deliver us from evil and this witchcraft that the Chiefs have. I can't sit there and watch
save me from your witchcraft.
Yeah, legit. That is how we feel. Oh man, nuts! But it was a wild divisional, weekend.
No, what a weekend!
Some big matchups: Chiefs, Bills, Commanders, Eagles. It's going to be exciting to see. Hopefully, we can get a little preview out. We got to talk about some prop bets and stuff. I'd like to touch on that before the season comes to a close. But Chappy, you got any parting words for the people out there?
Nothing much. We'll be running it back here. Hopefully get this out by Friday for that early go for the Sunday games. And then obviously we'll try and work on getting out some plays, and we'll see if we can get a little live maybe going. We'll see if we can get live on some of these. Yeah, we're working on that. So hopefully that can happen, and we'll get to you guys. And thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hit that bell.
Yeah. Hit the bell, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. NFL season's coming to a close. I'm going to miss you guys when that's over, but we'll be working on some stuff too.
A lot of detailed stuff coming.
A lot of detailed stuff. But we'll see you guys in the next episode. Appreciate it, guys. Chappy and Bengals out.
Easy.